Welcome one, welcome all back to Elestriad Season 3, but an even bigger welcome to today's casters who are both newcomers to the Elestriad format this season. Representing Zeus and the Thunder Pantheon is the StellarChristophe, who will be facing off against the Water Pantheon's GoldenNova. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Trishula, local solo one trick, and I've been given the great honor of commentating this incredible clash, which, come to think of it, reminds me that you can gain access to the Elestrals Clash beta by bagging at least $10 on Kickstarters right now. No, seriously. Go do it. Do it now. This is no longer an ad read. This is a threat. And with my contractual obligations out of the way, let's hear from the casters themselves what they've decided to bring to today's match.
Hello everyone, GoldenNova here, and today I will be representing the element of water in this season of the Elestriads. The deck I have for you today is something I like to call Tidal Forces. It takes both lunar and solar and combines them to bring about some of the best water bosses the game has to offer. First up we have Eddy. Everyone's playing Eddy. It's great for manipulating combat math, but we get a little bonus thanks to Rockin' a Hard Place. Aphros is our draw engine and Nexus enabler, so if we have anything that enjoys receiving spirits, it's going to love seeing Aphros on board, including Dratagwo. It heals us for 2 whenever it receives a water spirit, including casting. This will help us to pay for all of our expensive plays that are going to come up later. Astrabbit is in here. It's not water, but you know why it's being played. You know why it's being played in everything. Of course we're playing Astrabbit. We have 2 copies of Drakid. This can swap the stats of another 1-cost Elestral on the board, which means it's kind of an anti-5s, and it also elevates, ascends, I know the lingo, off of casting Rock in a Hard Place. Now, Kuribis is the ascension of Eddy, and we're only playing 1 copy of it. We don't want it clogging our hands. We want to be summoning this out of the deck with Eddy's special ability. This card is fantastic. As long as we have 2 water spirits in rotation to disenchant from stuff, removes anything, and then it heals us for the amount of spirits that card had. So if we hit like a big divine that has like 4 spirits on it, we're kind of in the clear. Draking is the ascension of Drakid, and I've been a little skeptical of this card. I worry that combat's not going to be a very good place for big Elestrals to shine in right now, but if it resolves, also, you're going to win. 2 copies of Chronodile. Now, we have to play 2 of these because we can't special ascend like these 2, so we need a little extra help finding this. But once we get all of the spirits into rotation to give it its untargetable protection, this is just going to run away with the game. A lot of our opponent's removal becomes useless, and it's free ping every turn. We give it a water, disenchant it, pop a card. Now, there are ways to get past its protection, but we are playing a few ways to get around that, which we'll get into later. Moving on to runes, we have Nectar of the Gods. It draws you 2, we have a lot of combos, we want to see them, and we can heal a lot, so we'll be able to pay that off that way. Ambrosia also helps keep our spirit deck topped off. Rock in a Hard Place is going to be our kind of removal, while our opponent gets to choose the mode in which it works between Earthquake and Thunderbolt. It's still pretty good to get the 1-for-1 removal, and we get to ascend our Elestrals, and that's pretty nifty. I've never activated this and not been happy with the result. Moving to counter runes, we have Tsunami, another thing that everyone is playing because it just turns things to defense position. The funny thing is that our opponent knows that we're on water, so they might play waters in their spirit deck to try and get past the Tsunami, which would be very funny. But if they do that, hey, they're making their spirit deck worse just for me, so I'm pretty happy about that. Poison-Tipped Arrow, this sees play also in everything. It will eventually remove the Elestral, but not immediately. Pretty good for dealing with big combat threats, but not ones that have good effects when they hit board. That's the purview of Gorgon's Gaze. This keeps the Elestral from activating its effect. Its current effects are negated, it can't be ascended, which kind of hurts our deck, so we want to avoid this as much as possible, and it can't attack, so it has a wide variety of uses, but we want to aim for smaller Elestrals that can otherwise be run over in battle. And then our last counter rune is Shield of Achilles. This is kind of a halfway point between the 2. It's not always great, but sometimes you want it because you got to stop your opponent from just running you over, so it's just good to have it on hand. We have 1 Artifact rune, Trident of Poseidon. Now, the empowered Elestral can't be targeted by counter runes, which is one way to stop the rampant usage of them, but things like Shield of Achilles does not target, so even that does not keep Chronodile safe. What we are playing is Poseidon to help out with this. Not only is this the divine that I have pledged myself to for this event, not only does it enable Nexusing to trigger more of your effects like Dratagwa, it also enables the bonus effect of Trident of Poseidon, which keeps your opponent from activating counter runes at all. So no shield, no PTA, no nothing. And that's a fantastic combination for all the high investment that we're trying to do here. For the side deck, we have 3 copies of Atlantis. This is here to counter 2 specific strategies. 1, 5s. A lot of our Elestrals that are 1 spirit cost cap out at 4 stats. This helps us meet or beat that amount, which is going to be very useful. The second strategy it counters is Race to the Top. You need to have Mount Olympus on board to activate and resolve it. This, because of the way how Stadium runes work, if you play one, the other one goes away. So this is kind of like free removal in that regard. Dense Fog and Spectaris come in if our Drakid package doesn't work the way we want it to. It still uses Lunar Spirits, and it's the exact same math between the two, so we can just swap one out for the other. If effects are a big deal, we can Dense Fog those away before they get activated. Or if it's some kind of weird battle math, like a Galaxy, we can just send in Spectaris and get that effect nipped in the bud. However, if the problem is not effect, but battle, we have more ways to ensure our victory with the Argo package. It's a bit expensive, but does empower any Elestral on the board with a rune from my hand or deck. The 3 that we have opted to put in the side deck are a second copy of Trident of Poseidon to make sure that we establish the counter rune lock as soon as possible. Necklace of Harmonia is here to win combats, makes us big, and if we trigger it during our opponent's turn, we don't have to pay the end phase cost during their turn. So it goes back to us. We have a couple of spirits under here. Maybe we can Nexus them off before going to battle so that we can make use of them. It's kind of like double dipping. And the last one is going to be Poisoned Tunic. This is kind of similar to Necklace of Harmonia, but we expect Poisoned Tunic to be destroyed in the middle of that combat, and it burns our opponent. So this kind of advances the clock, whereas Harmonia is here to win a combat and then try to push our spirits in the right direction to enable our cards. All in all, I think this deck has some great legs underneath it, or should I say, tentacles. We have a lot of strong monsters that can pressure our opponent, and then once we get to the late game, we slap Chronodile on the board and let it slowly pick apart our opponent's board until victory is ours. I can't wait to see how this works in practice. Thank you all so much for listening and watching, and I'll see all of you in the game.
I love GoldenNova's Tidal Forces strategy and how it aims to take advantage of Poseidon's Nexus ability and Water's unique niche of being able to cheat out some of the scariest Ascension Elestrals in the game. Combining this with the incredible deep draw offered by cards like Nectar of the Gods and Aphoros, I would be shocked if we don't see some of the most powerful Elestrals hit the board this match. Argo also makes an appearance in GoldenNova's side, a card that doesn't see much competitive play, but is absolutely devastating when it resolves.
What is up, Elestrals community? What is up, my Stellar Squad? StellarChristophe here for another Elestrals video, getting ready for Elestriad Season 3. Super excited to be invited. I've seen the first 2 seasons, loved what I saw, wished I'd be a part of it, and here we are. We're in it. We're in Season 3, guys. Zaptor is here to help us. We are going to be striking down our opponent, pun intended. We picked the Thunder Pantheon. First off is going to be Astrabbit. This is, in my opinion, probably the #1 Elestrals in the game. #1 first turn opener in the game. And again, we got the Stella variant. We have to bling our deck out as much as we possibly can. Next up, that's 3 copies of that. Next, we're going to run our Elechick. Elechick is going to search our Zeus. Again, Thunder, luckily for us, already has these searchers. You know, a lot of people are going to try to fit these cards into their decks. Luckily for us with Thunder, it's already come natural. We don't have to worry about putting spirits in this deck just to play these cards. Next up is going to be 2 copies of Jolton. Again, comes natural to look for your stadium. We are very fortunate to have this for our deck. Next, we're going to have 2 copies of Toxion. Get that extra burn on your opponent. If we do have the mountain out, that gives us 2 5s right off the bat. Next up, we're going to have 2 copies of Quackle. Again, just to have the extra heal. You're going to notice in this deck, I do have a lot of healing going on. Feels good. Play testing, it did very well, so I'm super excited about this. This also is going to come in handy later on when you see another card that we have in our main deck. We'll be able to use this card adjacent to it. Next up is going to be 2 copies of Arcolith. Arcolith is a monster right now. Again, the second my opponent has a good board state and they're attacking into me, I can go ahead and play Arclift. I do not have to ascend it, and then I'm going to get 3 spirits back. One combo I personally like doing is playing Zeus out for 1, Arclift, and I can add those spirits to Zeus and then keep using that effect over and over again. Last for the Elestrals, we do have a 17 count on the Elestrals, is going to be Eddie. A little bit of a tech option. We are going against water, so I don't know which route my opponent's going to go. We're going up against GoldenNovaYugioh. I don't know much about his playstyles, so if he's going Water Galaxy, we can use Eddie switch positions. If he's going Kerberos, we can use Eddie switch positions. Drat King as well. You know, back in my mind, I'm thinking Drat King. He's already using water, so that could be a possibility. So just trying to keep this stuff, keep that in the back of my mind as we're going. Next up, we are going to be going over our runes. So counter runes first. We got 2 shields. Wanted to do a third, it just didn't feel right though. We're going to have 3 copies of Altar. Again, when we're going to have our Zeuses out, we do have Mount Olympus in this deck. Arclift getting the extra spirits out. Altar Stars is going to come in very handy for us, especially going to Nexus. If we can Nexus extra onto the Rabbit and get that ability, just keep drawing our deck and get the cards we need to hopefully swing a victory. Next up, we're going to have 3 copies of Poison Tipped Arrow. Again, we get these early, or we save one for our opponent to play one of their better Elestrals. Again, hinder them and swing into them and get that card destroyed. Gorgon's Gaze, 3 copies. Not much I need to explain for this card. Show off the full art a little bit. Don't need to explain this card much. This is going to be a good option for us, especially if, like I said, if he's running Galaxy and he starts going in for attack, Gorgon's Gaze, we can shut the ability off. If he's going Kerberos, we can go ahead and shut the ability off. Drat King, etc., etc. We're going to have our 3 copies of Ambrosia. Again, just feels good. Again, there is a lot of healing going on in this deck. Mount Olympus, we got 2 copies of Mount Olympus in the main deck. Again, we have the 2 Jolton, so that gives us 4 chances to get Mount Olympus earlier. And with the Mount Olympus, we're going to go straight removal right now, guys. We have 3 copies of Race to the Top. Obviously, the bunny is going to be the prime candidate for that. But again, if we have Zeus and Mount Olympus out and say Quackle, I can use Zeus to lower my opponent's defenses down by 3. And then we can go ahead and between Mount Olympus and Race to the Top, pop those cards. We do have the 1 copy of Earthquake. The new ban list is in effect. The new limited list is in effect. So this card will be saved for whatever they're going for. Either just to power over something, or if they get their big body out, we will be saving that card. Resting on Your Laurels. Again, a card that was limited. So we want to make sure that we save this in case we need it. Now sadly we are running Slight Nexus in this. So if they are running Water Nexus, we're going to save this for the opportune moment. And then, since we are playing Thunder and Zeus, we do have 2 copies of the Lord himself, Zeus. That's our main deck. Feels really good. Especially the Arclift Quackle combo. I've play tested this a decent amount of times, and the healing is just second to none. Before, not even touching side deck options, this deck itself has 41 spirits available to it. So that's going to be awesome, especially going up against water, which is known for its healing with Jotagwas. And if they play Sluggle, so they might be running the same kind of combos, trying to get the heal on. So it's going to be a battle of stadiums, I'm sure. It's going to be a battle of healing. And last but not least, we will have our side deck. So first off, we are going to have the 3rd copy of Jolton. This is more if we're going to go more aggro. It really just depends on what my opponent's strategy is going to be. First game will reveal everything, hopefully, that we will need to know. So we got a 3rd copy of Jolton, 3rd copy of Elechick, 3rd Arclift, 3rd Quackle, 3rd Mount Olympus. We have a double Boombat for the extra removal. Again, depending on what route they're going, we might need to have that extra help. 2 copies of Thunderstorm. This is going to be very well paired with Arclift. You know, if we're bringing Thunder Spirits back when we summon Arclift, then we can get a Thunderstorm free every time we do that. Triple Dense Fog. Again, we're going up against water, guys. So I think Galaxy. I think Chronodile. If they're going to run Chronodile, it can't be targeted, I believe Chronodile's effect is. So if we do Dense Fog, then there we go, shut that ability off. Triple Cryoblast. This is in the side deck because water is so defensive. But again, if my opponent is running Eddie and Kuribus deck with like the Drak Kid, Drak King, then this card's going to come in clutch. Again, if I do need to add this to the main deck, I can combo this with Zeus. And as long as they have a 5 defense or less, I can go ahead and pop that card every single time. And then we have the 2 Floor Mines to go with the 3 Cryoblast. That's our deck. Again, feeling really good about it. Playtesting went very well. GoldenNova, I wish you luck, man. I hope we have an awesome clash. And everyone that's watching, we'll see you guys in the clash. Peace.
Truly living up to his name, StellarChristophe shows off an absolutely gorgeous blinged out Thunder Nexus deck. As a fellow collector of Stellar cards myself, I gotta respect the flex. While there's not many surprises in Christoph's main deck, I am particularly excited to see how cards like Dense Fog and Thunderstorm will impact the match post-side. When playing a deck that's already a powerful meta contender in the standard format, like the Thunder Nexus deck is, the side deck becomes an even more potent tool in a caster's arsenal, as even a single card can reap immense rewards over the course of a match. GoldenNova's unique strategy is sure to make a splash, but can it weather the storm that Christophe is brewing? Let's find out. All right, and it looks like GoldenNova is going to be starting out with a mulligan, expending 2 Water Spirits to draw a hopefully better hand than the one they started with. And it looks like StellarChristophe will be starting and starts with the Toxeon, expending a spirit from GoldenNova's deck, pressing that advantage already on turn 1. Now, you might not know this, but you can't attack on turn 1, so Toxeon's ability to burn a spirit right away gives you an inherent advantage, because it's like you get to attack into an open board right away. But GoldenNova is going to answer that, preventing future attacks by playing out the powerful Astrabbit in defense. Astrabbit, one of my favorite cards in the game, gotta say, allowing you to look at the top 3 cards of your deck, find the best one, and add it to your hand. He's going to set 1 back and pass back to StellarChristophe. Christophe is going to, looks like, expend to draw after setting one of his own back row, setting another one after the expend, and then activating Zeus. Zeus being very, very good in this position, especially into 1 back row, because outside of exactly Shield or Tsunami, that pretty much clears the rabbit, and it does. So much pressure off of just one little Stellar guy. And shout out to StellarChristophe, living up to his name immediately by playing a Stellar card. Gotta love to see it. Gotta love to see it. We're going to see the Nectar of the Gods come down from GoldenNova, burning himself for another 2 spirits, but hopefully to find some good cards, maybe that can get him out of this early game situation that he's found himself in. Looks like he's going to be playing another Astrabbit in defense, which is going to be met with the poison-tipped arrow from StellarChristophe. Definitely not what you want to see if you're GoldenNova. That is a very scary position to be in. Having your rabbit outed on turn 1 and turn 2, and just preventing you from slow rolling the game in the way that Water kind of wants to do. Looks like he might have found some back row, setting a couple extra cards, hopefully to secure his board state against the incoming pressure that StellarChristophe is going to have. Looks like Christophe is going to be cashing out that PTA, destroying the rabbit, and leaving GoldenNova with no dudes on the field to protect him. And then we are going to see the ascension into Arcolith, potentially a risky play for StellarChristophe when you are already so far ahead, but again, just wanting to press that advantage even further, re-enchanting 3 Thunder Spirits from the Underworld, but choosing not to put them all onto the Arcolith, and instead putting most of them onto the Zeus that is on board. Fun fact about Arcolith is it does not all have to re-enchant to the same place. Very, very powerful effect of Arcolith, and it looks like we might be getting punished here with the Tsunami coming out from GoldenNova, putting that Arcolith in defense. Now, this is powerful for a few reasons, because it opens this Arcolith up to attacks. Now, Christophe doesn't know this. We know this. Unfortunately, GoldenNova doesn't seem has any 1-drop Elestrals that will be over to get over this 4 defense of the Arcolith, but we are going to see Eddie hit the board. Eddie probably not going to be using his effect to put the Arcolith back into attack, I would assume. But I would also not be shocked to see a Rock and a Hard Plays hit the board. That's probably the best thing. And there it is. Rock and a Hard Plays does come down, allowing Christophe to have the choice between destroying the Arcolith and destroying one of their runes. Let's see which one the choice will be. Looks like Christophe thinking on it and chooses to destroy the Arcolith. I guess choosing and assuming that the Eddie is going to ascend and saying, you know what, it's fine. I want to keep this back row. The back row is going to protect me against this Kerbis. Love to see that. The Kerbis comes out onto the board, and now GoldenNova suddenly finds himself in the driver's seat. He sees the Poseidon hit the board, and now we get to see the full power of Kerbis. If Kerbis resolves his effect successfully and destroys this Zeus, GoldenNova is going to be getting a lot of spirits back on, like, he's gonna be like a ton. It's gonna be crazy. So hopefully StellarChristophe can have the Gorgon's Gaze to respond. Let's see if he does, because if not, this is going to be a massive tempo swing, and we don't see the Gorgons. The Zeus is going to be destroyed and now being punished for choosing to enchant all of those spirits onto the Zeus. I think GoldenNova heals here for 4 spirits. It's either, no, okay, it's just 3 spirits. Just 3, looked like 4. But this is a huge tempo swing. Looks like the Kerbis is going to be able to get in for 2. Or not. Looks like doesn't want to risk the Shield of Achilles. Passes turn and eats an Earthquake. Very unfortunate for GoldenNova. We were probably hoping to see that Kerbis stick around and potentially destroy even more cards. But it looks like StellarChristophe might not actually be able to contest the board. I think he just expended to draw and then used an Ambrosia, set another card, and passed back. So still in the driver's seat for GoldenNova, which is a favorable position to be in. Playing a Nectar of the Gods here, it feels a little risky, very aggressive at the very least. Hopefully digging into some powerful Elestrals or maybe Ambrosias to try and shore up the spirit differential. We are going to see the Aphoros come out, and this is where we see the powerful deep draw engine of GoldenNova's deck start to take place. GoldenNova playing the Aphoros in defense mode, not wanting to risk the attacks and give up this advantage that he seems to have found. And, you know, I think that it's pretty smart to just play it safe. You know, you could go in and swing for 2 spirits here into an open board, but I think just like before with the Kerbis, we were expecting a Shield of Achilles. So if you still have that read, then, you know, better not to risk it. Seems like there was a thought of, you know, do I Nexus here? Do I not? And then I guess just not. StellarChristophe still no Elestrals to be found, still expending. So the Aphoros didn't even have to attack. The Aphoros, you know, just gets to sit there and gets to draw a card. And then, oh, I see what's happening. Okay, so it's actually the Poseidon Nexusing to the Aphoros, and then the Aphoros Nexusing back, keeping those spirits on the Poseidon. Very, very, very strong and very smart as well. Not wanting to put all of your eggs in one basket is very important, especially with Nexus Elestrals. It looks like the Eddie coming down from StellarChristophe. Finally a dude hitting the board and is going to be swinging over the Aphoros. But it will get hit with the Shield of Achilles. GoldenNova is getting kind of low, so Christophe might actually not even need to have dudes here. Just being able to kind of chill out and hope that GoldenNova burns themselves by, you know, just playing their cards out. And it seems to be working with this Aphoros just kind of chilling on the board in, you know, defense mode, or at least it had been. You know, the spirit differential just keeps widening, and now we see ourselves at a gap of 8 spirits that's very hard to come back from sometimes. We're going to see our spirit dance again, Poseidon Nexuses, and then Aphoros Nexuses back to draw a card. Hopefully to see the Ambrosia. No Ambrosia to be found. Feels not so great for GoldenNova. The Aphros is going to be enchanted with Trident of Poseidon, very strong, guarantees that it's going to be able to get in there and not get Shield of Achilles. And hopefully for GoldenNova's sake, there is a way to protect this Aphros from the Eddy that we do know is in the hand. We see Thunder Word come out, Thunder Edward hitting the board, no water spirits left. We see the 2-spirit Zeus come out, or not. Oh, okay, they have rewinded. They are going to be Poison Tip arrowing before the Zeus activation. Got a little excited there. And then we will see the Zeus come out properly. Very, very good sportsmanship from both players, not wanting to say, "Oh, well, you flipped your Zeus. You know, I'm not gonna use this card." Very, very good sportsmanship there. Love to see that, especially in Elestriad. Great to see from GoldenNova. We are gonna eat this Edward like a champ, unfortunately, and hopefully we will see the Ambrosia come out and heal us 3 spirits. We see a mystery spirit sent to the underworld. I think that was a Luminate. Then we'll draw 1 card. I think that might have been an expend to draw. Nope, that was maybe a damage. Not really sure what that was. We see Edward hit the board. Edward, Hero Edward just going in there. Lunar Edward. And we're going to see the Shield of Achilles. Any Elestral now from StellarChristophe is going to end this game. Can he pull it off? He has not seen a dude in forever. And there is the Elechick is going to come out, is going to finish the game. That is going to be our game 1 complete. Now, both casters are going to have access to their side decks now. They're going to be able to modify their decks, but not add or additional cards, only replace cards. And now we will hop straight into game 2. Looks like GoldenNova will be taking the initiative this time, starting off with Nectar of the Gods. Drawing 2 cards, a very powerful way to start your turn. Everyone knows drawing cards in card games is very strong, especially when they find you cards that find even more cards, like the Ass Rabbit coming out again. Card is very powerful, one of my personal favorite cards, as mentioned before. Some might even say my mascot in some regards, but I think we all want to claim Ass Rabbit as our mascot. It's going to find some pretty good cards. It's going to set 1 to back itself up, and we are going to pass over to StellarChristophe. He is going to set a couple cards face down and expend a Thunder Spirit, probably hoping he had an Ass Rabbit right now. Not his mascot today, and then he will set 1 additional card and I guess end his turn. Looks like GoldenNova is going to be evaluating their situation and saying, do I press here or do I re-enchant this rabbit? Looks like we're going to be re-enchanting the rabbit, hoping to find even more cards. A very fair play to make, not wanting to invest any resources onto the board, but we are going to just switch this rabbit to attack mode and attempt to swing in for 2 spirits. This is pretty good into most back row that Christophe could have. Probably not wanting to Shield of Achilles this card, because then you just have to deal with Ass Rabbit again next turn. Don't want to do that, so he's going to take the 2 spirits, and because we see the attack mode rabbit here, I'd be willing to bet that there is probably a Tsunami set behind that Ass Rabbit. Pretty safe play, because then if there's an Edward or something that comes down, you know, just put yourself back in defense. Very, very powerful start. Looks like Christophe still has no dudes to play with, expending to draw again, and then Ambrosiaing back up to 18 spirits, which is great, but maybe not in the face of a 2-spirit Ass Rabbit that is going to be swinging at you again next turn. Feels not so great to have to eat spirits over and over again. It looks like the Dratagua is now going to come down, this time in defense, and eats the PTA, so it doesn't matter which position we put it in, because spirits that have, or Elestrals that have 0 attack would not be able to inflict damage anyway, so very, very strong here. And jumping on this PTA as well is very good for this Dratagua, because not only did it heal 2 spirits, it also dealt 2 spirits as well as its buddy, the Ass Rabbit, that dealt another 2. So huge play in terms of spirit tempo here. We did 4 damage after Ambrosia, and we only played a single card, and we have maintained our advantage. Very, very good on GoldenNova's side. And once again, Christophe is just, it looks like he's expending to draw again. maybe kept a hand that he shouldn't have kept with no Elestrals in it, which to me sounds like, you know, there has to be some really powerful runes in that back row. If that's me, I think that, I'm staring down every single counter rune that could possibly exist. Astrabbit is going to be able to be re-enchanted and resolve its effect for now the third time, finding another back row and attempting to swing in for 3. Here comes the Shield of Achilles, finally putting this Astrabbit back in the hand. Probably a pretty heads-up play from StellarChristophe, because GoldenNova doesn't likely have the room to play more than 3 spirits for those Astrabbits in his water strategy, being of course locked into 11 mandatory water spirits for the Elestriad. And so now looks like StellarChristophe is gonna say, all right, we've dealt with the bunny, I'm gonna run out my Elechick, search my Zeus, and I'm going to start regaining some of this board state and some of these spirits that I have had to take because of the Rabbit's Reign of Terror. We're going to be getting in there for 1. Not wanting to use any back row to deal with this Elechick makes me think that GoldenNova probably already has a response for it. This Rabbit is resolved 3 times. We've found all the cards that we want to find, and here comes the Edward. Edward does come down and will be switching Elechick to another position, but it won't. There's actually a Gorgon Gaze. I lied. And we know for a fact that Gorgon's Gaze was set previously, so I think we might have the right read that all of these back row are probably real. If there were just no Elestrals, you have to find back row. The back row, probably pretty good if you kept it. So we are going to see the Zeus come down. StellarChristophe getting very low, being at 6 spirits to GoldenNova's 14. Just trying to desperately regain the advantage here, reducing the Edward down to 1. And we do see that tsunami there that we kind of expected from turn 1, but we see the Altar of Stars switching the Elechick back to attack mode. And if you didn't know, an Elestral can attack again if its attack does not succeed, even if its position was changed, which means this Elechick will be able to just attack again and attempt to get over the Edward, which has 1 spirit on it. And it looks like the Elechick is going to be met with a Gorgon's Gaze. So this Elechick actually getting a lot of value here. Baiting out 2 back rows in the same combat phase is awesome. But still with that pretty big spirit deficit, it is still kind of a rough position for StellarChristophe, especially since this Edward is strong enough to just take the trade with the Elechick. Sure, GoldenNova would have to take 1 point of spirit damage, but that might just be worth it just to press the advantage here. And it looks like it might be even more worth it with the Ambrosia coming down, healing 3, Astrabbit coming down, touching the board here, being very careful to play around a potential Arcolith if we are going to make that trade. And it looks like we are going to see cards added to the hand. We're going to see another Poseidon come down. Very, very powerful, very threatening as well, because if there is a Rock and a Hard Place that gets casted here, it's going to be very difficult for StellarChristophe to come back, because not only would that Rock and a Hard Place clear either the Elechick or a back row, but then it would be able to destroy another card, and with Poseidon's Nexus ability, would be able to do quite a significant amount of damage this turn, potentially sealing the game. There's the Rock and the Hard Place coming out, and unless StellarChristophe has something like the Gorgon's Gaze in order to stop this Kerberos from ascending, this might just be game here. So we do see that StellarChristophe chooses to keep the Elechick, popping the Poison Tip Arrow. And we see him check a card, but it is not a Gorgon's Gaze. Unfortunately, Kerberos does come out, and it looks like Kerberos will be looking to use its effect in order to disenchant. Trident of Poseidon is also going to come down, making the Kerberos unaffected. So even now, if there is a Gorgon's Gaze there to protect this Kerberos, or to deal with this Kerberos, it is not going to be affected anyway. So it looks like that Elechick is going to be destroyed. GoldenNova is going to be able to heal back the 2 spirits that were used for that Trident of Poseidon, which makes this very, very powerful. And then he's able just to swing in for 3, Nexusing off of the Poseidon. Very heads up play here from him, being able to put StellarChristophe down to just only 2 spirits. is such a fantastically strong play here. And I really love the sequencing that we saw here as well, because had we put this Astrabbit, you know, in attack mode or something, and then we walked into a back row, like maybe a Gorgon's Gaze or a Shield, then it would just not have worked out, and he could potentially playing into an Arcolith that could have swung the game. But unfortunately, we have just played around this in such a way that there's just no way for StellarChristophe to come back. We see the last two spirits flip up. They're both Terratluses. Looks like we held on to those maybe a little bit too long. And just we're going to see the concede there. So we're going to have our casters side one more time. Remember, again, they have to keep their Divine Rune in their deck along with 11 spirits of their Pantheon's color, meaning that they are a little limited on what they can side in and out, but we're going to see them offer each other luck, and we're going to see StellarChristophe start off with the Astrabbit once again, looking at the top 3 cards of his deck. And we do see the gorgeous Stellar Rare Kickstarter Astrabbit, the Founders promo version. Very beautiful. Probably my favorite version of Astrabbit. And the set 3, that's such a powerful start too. You never want to see your opponent lead Astrabbit set 3. That is very, very strong. But as we know, the water deck is also a very strong deck itself. And there it is. There's the Edward being able to combat this rabbit, probably the best possible card to deal with it. And we do see the Gorgon's Gaze come out to prevent both this Edward from switching the Astrabbit to moving into attack, but also to prevent a Rock and a Hard Place from coming out and potentially destroying a back row and ascending into Kerbis as well. Very heads up from StellarChristophe. Looks like he's going to draw a card and just re-enchant the rabbit. Again, probably one of the highest value plays that you can get in the game is just re-enchanting that rabbit, getting another 3 cards off the top of your deck, adding one of them to your hand. So strong, because you don't have to, not only do you get to draw for turn, but you also get to resolve a rabbit again, meaning you go +1 in advantage off the rabbit and +1 for the turn draw, giving you effectively 2 extra cards. Another Eddie is going to come down. It is going to be met with the Poison Tip Arrow. Maybe a risky play if there is a Rock and a Hard Place in the hand. Because then if there is that Rock and a Hard Place that comes down, that Eddie that's been Poison Tipped Arrow is going to be able to ascend. And we do see the Rock and a Hard Place come out, very punishing. Unfortunately, maybe we could have held that Poison Tip Arrow for the Kerbis. And we are going to see the Poison-Tipped Arrowed Eddie ascend just as we feared. So now we have cleared so many cards all in one turn. And this is really just the power of water. These Rock and a Hard Place combos, providing so much tempo in the early game, and then also having that late game kind of ascension strategy and kind of value engine as well, gives water really a well-rounded strategy. And we're going to see the Poseidon triple enchant here. And once again, this Kerbis is going to be able to use its effect to just tear apart StellarChristophe's field. As we were saying a minute ago, you know, Rabbit set 3 is probably one of the strongest openers you can have. With 3 unique back row as well, makes it extra powerful. And by turn, what is this, 2 or 3? It's already been picked apart by the water deck. Just going to show just how good some of these water Elestrals are, especially their Ascensions. We're going to see Mount Olympus come out here. And then are we going to be able to see Race to the Top? No Race to the Top yet. We do see the Stellar Toxion living up to his name once again, coming out and burning for 1. But we do have that back row that's lurking down there to contest with, and we still have the Kerbis on the board. So unless there's something like a Race to the Top, which we do see does come down, and the Race to the Top is going to be able to clear that Kerbis, meaning that StellarChristophe has regained control of the board, at least for right now. So as long as that back row is not like a Shield or a Tsunami, it looks like he will be regaining the board. But unfortunately, he's lost all of his back row, so he's not protected. This little Toxion is out on his own, and he's getting lost in the flood of Tsunami that gets flipped up, and is going to have to deal with this Eddie just staring him down once again. We're going to see Dratagua come out again, playing in the defense mode to play around something like the Arcolith. You might want to press the advantage here, but again, being able to play around stuff like Arcolith is very strong. We're going to see Poseidon Nexus over to this Dratagua and heal another 2. So this Dratagua is getting so much value. It healed 4 in one turn. but only for a 1 spirit commitment in the turn is just such great value. And we've seen now that the spirit count, GoldenNova was down before, but now he has leapfrogged StellarChristophe by a whole 2 spirits, even after a really expensive turn. We are going to see the Resting on Your Laurels come out and destroy the Eddy. That is possible because there are now 3 spirits on the board with the Dratagua and the Edward. So this Olympus, which would have otherwise maybe been a detriment to activating Resting on Your Laurels, is okay. But we see the Elechick come down, and it is met immediately with that Gorgon's Gaze. GoldenNova just not wanting StellarChristophe to get any momentum in this game, and then we're going to see him follow it up right away with the Nectar of the Gods straight into an Ambrosia, getting those spirits right back. Never feels good for StellarChristophe. We're going to see the Drakid come out, switching the stats, making the Drakid a 4 and the Elechick a 2, boosted to 3 by the Mount Olympus, and the Drakid is just going to get over that. Drakid, a really powerful card that I think is kind of slept on, personally. I think that card is really, really strong. It is one of the best one-drop Elestrals kind of in the game right now, in my opinion, and it doesn't get the respect it deserves. I like Drakid. It's going to be met with Yalton, though, the funny little hedgehog guy. Is going to come down, and he is going to attempt to search the Olympus, or maybe not. I actually didn't see StellarChristophe add one to his hand, so maybe the other one is already just in his hand. It's going to beat over the Drakid, but we are going to finally see that Chronodile hit the board. Using that one of Solar Spirits, it's going to beat over the Jalton, dealing 2 points of damage to StellarChristophe and being backed up by a back row. That is such a scary position to be in if you are the Thunder player, especially when you then have to follow it up with an expend to draw and then no back row on top of it. That is just not the game state you want to see. We see him get in there for 3 spirits, and he's just going to pass right back to StellarChristophe. StellarChristophe is going to set a card, and then we are going to see the draw. We see the Astrabbit coming out again. Maybe we're going to see it come into attack. We do see the attack mode Astrabbit kind of deciding here, you know what, it's okay if... Oh, we actually do see the Chronodile switch to defense. So we're going to see him maybe playing around Shield of Achilles here, and not wanting to play into something like Arcolith. And I think that's pretty heads up. I think that is pretty powerful. We're going to see StellarChristophe play his own Astrabbit. Astrabbit is going to resolve its effect. Find an Ambrosia. Pretty nice here, keeping us alive. And then we are going to see the Race to the Top come down, destroying the other Astrabbit. But unfortunately, unless StellarChristophe has something like a Boom Bat, I don't see how we're getting over this Chronodile yet. Thankfully, the Chronodile does not have enough spirits on the board for it to be protected by its own effect. We're going to see the re-enchant and then the disenchant to destroy. It looks like the back row, it was a Shield of Achilles, so properly playing around that, that's awesome. We're going to see it get over the Astrabbit, and the Astrabbit is going to go down. Is StellarChristophe going to be able to find the Boom Bat? If he's going to do it, he's got to find it now. But unfortunately, he seems to have just not found it. Setting a card in the back does not feel good. We see this Chronodile once again re-enchant and disenchant to pop the lone back row. It is going to be met with Gorgon's Gaze, not wanting to take that little last bit of damage, hoping to save one more spirit maybe for that Boom Bat, and then just praying for the top deck Ambrosia. We do see Toxeon come down, but unfortunately the Toxeon is not enough to deal with this Chronodile. It's going to be met with Poison Tip Arrow. And now any hope that it had of potentially getting over that Chronodile has been snuffed out, and we are going to see the concede from StellarChristophe. What an amazing clash from these two casters here. Really cool to see how the water deck was able to just get down some of its really big ascensions and just kind of run away with the game from there. So Tidal Forces, maybe try out some of those bigger Elestrals and, see how they do, because just because a deck is meta does not mean it has an out to a Chronodile. This has been a lot of fun to commentate. Hopefully I'll see you guys in the next video. Drop a comment down below if you enjoyed this class, and let us know what decks you'd like to see next.